Welcome to another edition of the Blue Jays Avenue podcast. Uh, we have a special guest in here, and we appreciate Joe for sending us, contacts on other guests to come. And we have another guest as aboard today, and he's the pitching coordinator in the Blue Jays organization, Ricky Meinhold. Welcome. It's an honor for you to have you on.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about in the course of a year with the Blue Jays pitching in their farm system. So what a great guest to have yourself on to talk about it, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good to be here.
Yes, sir. And I want to ask you, as yourself, your profile as a Blue Jays pitching coordinator. I know that you were part of this organization since 2024, but talk about your past 10 years as a coach. I know that you were in the Mets organization as well, and you also did some college stuff. Talk a bit about yourself and what you work on in the Blue Jays organization.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so I joined here in 2024 as one of the pitching coordinators here. Prior to that, it's been a fun journey. Worked for the St. Louis Cardinals for 6 years, did various roles in that organization, from scouting to player development to analyst stuff. And then I left the Cardinals. I'm from Missouri, and so leaving the Cardinals was an interesting thing for me. But I left the Cardinals for an unbelievable opportunity to be the pitching coordinator and the assistant major league pitching coach for the New York Mets. I was there for 2 years and learned a lot and had a lot of good relationships built and formed, and left there to go to South Korea. I was a major league pitching coach in the KBO. Was also director of pitching of that and for the Lotte Giants organization as well. Obviously a little bit different spin, but it was an unbelievable experience and also a lot of growth for me personally and professionally. Took my whole family over there. I had 2 little kids, and they were really little at that time. And my wife wasn't working and came over with us, and we just had an unbelievable experience, and got an opportunity to come home to be a pitching coach at University of Missouri for head coach Steve Beazer, and was brought in there, and we amplified kind of the message that he wanted to do of committing to excellence, and got to a situation where we made the tournament for the first time in 3 years, won 30+ games for the first time in a while there. And then unfortunately the administration had different ideas, and they let Steve go, and obviously put myself in a situation to figure out what was next. I had a short stop at Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina, where I was the pitching coach for a few months before the Toronto Blue Jays called and kind of tackled this journey. But yeah, grateful for the last 3 seasons or 2.5 seasons so far with the Blue Jays. We've had a lot of change, had a lot of upscaling of some processes, and obviously new players and ability to kind of cap it off with a really exciting year last year in 2025, and then catapulting that into 2026, trying to do bigger and better things. So yeah, the last 15 years or so has been an unbelievable journey for a growth perspective from me and learning perspective, as well as be able to impact young people and staff alike. It's just been really, really cool to have this as my journey. If you'd asked me 15 years ago if this is what I was be doing, I'd tell you you're crazy. But I'm grateful for every step, for sure.
The Jays organization has put a huge emphasis on pitching and working with pitching labs and how they establish the way that, when their pitches, when it comes to velocity, command, repeat delivery, success. So how important are those things to the development of a pitcher and having those resources to have to fall back on?
Yeah, great question. I think we are very fortunate here in this organization. Our ownership and our leadership alike in baseball operations supply us with the resources that are at our fingertips to be able to serve these players and help them kind of realize some dreams and get better every single day. It's a big operation. It's not just myself or Justin leading the trip. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that people don't necessarily know about as much, but it takes a village to help every single one of our players. And I think we're fortunate enough to have the resources, but we've edited some of the processes over the last handful of years to impact the players on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's where the real win is. I mean, we've had tools here since I got here. We've built some more tools on top of it with kind of our different people that we've hired and put into certain positions. And then obviously philosophies of myself and Justin have aligned to kind of put a plan together and then utilize the resources, not just technology and some of the data perspectives that we come from, but the people that we put in positions to execute how we interpret the data and how we interpret the data to imply the perspective of getting players better individually. I think that's been the sweet sauce, I guess you could say, of because to be honest with you, 30 teams, I wouldn't say all of them have the resources we have, but a lot of teams have similar resources to what we have. We just have people that have helped create processes to really streamline some things. And I think that's where the success lies. It's not just the resources, but the people that we have. So it's been pretty cool.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge for any pitchers when they're working on their game? Because command is such a big deal in baseball, hands down. But velocity has become a bigger thing. We know that pitchers are getting paid based upon velocity. And we look at teams and we look at the Jays, like how do they work their game? What's the most important trait for a pitcher, and what's the biggest challenge for them?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a pretty loaded question. Obviously, you could go different ways with that.
Yeah.
We live in the world that velocity is king, and that's not going anywhere. And we like velocity just as much as the next one, right? But I think you are what you emphasize. And so our process, I think, is emphasizing on getting into good counts and leveraging the stuff that you have while we continually build on that foundation that they come into the organization with. I think obviously every player comes in with a different type of attributes to correlate success for themselves. And I think we evaluate that in a vacuum, but also evaluate that individually to help propel them forward to be in the best position. Because yes, we want to build the best robust stuff and the best output that we can possibly give from each individual guy. But we also, they keep score, and there's a strike zone, and we have to throw it into it for us to get relative success. So I think there's a process metric side of things that we value that is kind of the foundation of how we correlate that to success. And I think, again, we made T-shirts this year that say "Be good at what you're good at," or "Be good at what you're great at." And I think that's something that we emphasize overall in our organization, and that comes in different lenses for different people because everybody's different. And so we don't have the same guy with a different jersey number in our organization. Every single guy you look at, there's different uniqueness to individual players, and I think we just evaluate that accordingly and try to put them in the best position to be successful. But you're right, like we live in the stuff world, we live in the velocity is king world, and I think we're trying to be the best possible at building those things without obviously compromising other things that are all obviously very important in this game. And so we want to give John and we want to give Pete and Graham and Sam the best versions of the individual selves once they get up there. And I think that we're trying to put a process together that shows that and shows more well-roundedness with the obvious capabilities of getting things done at the highest level.
Adam Macko was called up at the beginning of this week, and he made his debut a couple nights ago, pitched last night, got his first strikeout last night, which is pretty cool for him. He pitched in WBC also, pitched pretty well, was an important part to what they did at the WBC this year, Team Canada. So, his development path has been an interesting one. So talk about him a little bit and what he has done to further himself as a pitcher and finally get that shot with the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, right? Like obviously his story going back to when he was a kid to his story into pro ball to his story into being a Blue Jay and then his maturation as a pitcher through our organization, all the different roadblocks he had to overcome and things that he had to do individually to put himself in a position to be put on the 40 man, and then obviously be in a position to get called up to a team that is trying to compete for a World Series every single year. I think he's done an unbelievable job, and I think I go back to him putting his head down and working, but I think the vast amount of people that have impacted him individually over the time he's been in the organization, I think is kind of the story that is should be told a little bit. Is like, yeah, he put in the work and did a lot of really good things to put himself in that position to get called up. But that didn't go without a lot of people challenging him to be the best he could be, and him challenging himself to listen to that and take that for what it was. I think you mentioned him pitching in the WBC. I think that atmosphere and that environment and the role that he was in propelled him to be successful, obviously making your major league debut at Yankee Stadium in a situation with us where we're trying to win as many games as possible. And obviously him getting called on a situation that isn't like the easiest one to walk into in your major league debut, but not even questioning the fact that he was ready for that moment. And just the layers upon layers of experience that he's gained and gleaned on to the last, I'd say 2 years of changing his role and putting him into a situation to face lefty pockets or platoon neutral pieces where he can get out multiple sided hitters. And I think it's just a testament to his work. It's a testament to his resiliency. It's a testament to his openness to be challenged by our staff from top to bottom. And it's really cool to see him have success at the highest level, and obviously want to see him continue to do that. But it's just cool. It's a cool story, man. Like, there's not obviously I think he's one of the first or second from Slovakia to ever pitch in the major leagues.
Yeah.
Moving to Ireland, moving to Canada, obviously playing for the country's team. Like, it's just, it gives you goosebumps. I'm looking at him
yeah.
It's really cool for him to get this and earn this. It's definitely earned. It wasn't just given to him, obviously. So that makes it even sweeter for him.
We got to talk about this pitcher as well, and he's been incredible in the Blue Jays pitching staff. Is Spencer Miles, who was a Rule 5 pick from the San Francisco Giants. And man, what an absolute player, man. Like, you know, anything he wants to do, like, and whatever the team asks him to do, like he's willing to relish that opportunity. He even said, like, whatever the team asks him to do, he's more than happy. He wants to do what's best for the team. Like, talk a bit about him, because a lot of people didn't know who he was, and now he's shown that that he's a big part of this team. And also, could you see him in the future be a starting pitcher? Because some people thought that the injuries played a factor of not letting him be stretched out. So talk a bit about him and what's his future holds with him.
Yeah, Spencer Miles is a cool one for all of us. Nobody really knows this. Obviously, you put the 2 and 2 together. Justin was the pitching coordinator of the San Francisco Giants. Spencer was drafted by the San Francisco Giants. You go back earlier than that. I was a pitching coach at University of Missouri. Spencer Miles was a pitcher at University of Missouri. He was, I'll never forget it. And he can joke, if you ever have him on, he'll joke about this too. But I got hired to be the pitching coach, and he was potentially going to go in the draft. And as a smart pitching coach would do at the University of Missouri, I said, hey man, like, if you don't get drafted here high enough, like, I feel confident we can get you to a spot if you come back next year. But honestly, telling him, like, if you get a shot, you need to go. And he obviously got the shot with the Giants. But it's pretty cool. I had a relationship with him before he got drafted, and I played pickup basketball with him when he was in college, and with him and his dad. Really good family. He's from Columbia, Missouri, which is the town University of Missouri is in. I'm a Missouri guy. I'm from about 2.5 hours south of there. So had that connection. Then you add in Justin's connection of him working with him with the San Francisco Giants. And it's crazy how that works out. And then obviously we Rule 5 him, but the sky's the limit for Spencer. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. He's a very intelligent guy, very calm and collected individual. He ran into some things, right? He got out of college, he got drafted, and then he got hurt right away, some slightly freak injuries, and then some other things that were a little bit wear and tear on him. And he worked his tail off. I mean, it's pretty cool to see his success at the major league level. I mean, you look at it, I don't want to be quoted exactly here, but I think he had like 14 or 15 total minor league innings. Like to get Rule 5 drafted to the major leagues for a team that's contending and be thrown into the fire and earn that spot just speaks to his character, speaks to his ability to kind of take in coaching on a fly, but also like the attributes he gives. Like he has stuff. He has the ability to throw strikes. He has a polished delivery. He has the demeanor between the ears that allows him to be successful and kind of handle one moment at a time and not put the cart before the horse per se. And so, yeah, we were really excited about him. Obviously, the personal aspect of me, I was really excited to get him in the organization and then hang with him in spring training and work with him in spring training and try to get him to see if he could win a job. And he did that. Credit to him. He won the job and got put on the roster. And then obviously the success that he's had in the near term in the major leagues has been really cool to watch. But I would tell you that I wouldn't say I would have guessed the success at the highest level that he's had it now, but I didn't think he'd fail. I think he would be able to work around things that would get in his way. And he's done a really good job of putting himself in a position to get different roles and get considered as a starting pitcher. Yeah, I think he's got attributes to be a starting pitcher in the future. I think he is going to prove that to the staff and to the organization every time he takes the ball. But we're just trying to put our team in a position to be successful. And he gives us an opportunity right now in the role that he's in to do that. And so I think the sky's the limit for that side of things. He's got a really good group around him in coaches as well as the pitchers, with obviously some familiarity with Max because he's known Max since he was in college at Mizzou and before that. But then also the wealth of information that he's getting from other pitchers in that organization up at the top in the major leagues, I think he can only learn from and grow with. And he's taken it in stride and doing a really good job to be where his feet are at. And then when his name is called, that he just goes out and executes the game plan of what he needs to do. So if he stays consistent at that, I don't think there's a person in our org or outside the org that wouldn't think he'd be capable of being a starting pitcher in the major leagues. But truth be told, it'll happen over time if it's supposed to. But yeah, really exciting, really good player, really good person, really good family, and just really excited for his success from a personal side of things, being from Missouri and rooting for a guy like that, but also being inside the organization and being a guy who roots for all Blue Jays success. So really cool to see him prosper and have success early on this year.
This next prospect that we want to ask you about, we talked a little bit about him with Joe, and that's Johnny King. And last year, he really opened the eyes in the organization to a lot of Blue Jays fans with he's just nasty. And then he gets promoted earlier this season to High A Vancouver, and he's just doing it again. It's like nothing phases him. He's putting up video game like numbers, and he's only 20 years old. So what's the path for development for him, and what dictates the promotion to, say, Double-A New Hampshire for a guy like that when he's having so much success?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think there's many fans in our organization of Johnny King, not just as the player that produces on the field, but the human being, the quirkiness of the left-handed brain that he is. I'm left-handed, so I can say that out loud. Other people probably shouldn't say that. Yeah, I mean, he's a fireball, and not just saying that because he's got red hair, but like he gets after it in everything he does. I think we were really excited when we took him in the draft. I was in the draft room with our guys there, and just excited about the athleticism of what we were getting. And then there was obviously things out there about he's like this or he's like that, and we just took it for what it was, and we're pretty honest with him to start. Like, hey, we're an organization that our players do drive a lot of our decisions based on their ability to get things done, whether we put like the goals we put in front of them that they choose and they believe in, that we kind of guide. The players dictate that. And I think for us, a lot of the conversation around Johnny's not been about the physical nature of who he is. Like, he gets after it off the field from taking care of his body and doing things. He's still young in some of his routines, so he's trying to learn what best suits him in his in his day-to-day routine of being a starting pitcher in professional baseball. But he's taken that with stride and has taken some guidance on that from myself and others, our pitching coaches that have all touched him, that have trying to put him in a position to be successful is obviously the kicker, but like the routine aspect of it, of being the best version of yourself, but putting yourself in a position to host every fifth or sixth day and rebound and be able to have certain things in the tank when you need it, and being able not just to outstuff guys, but to actually pitch. I think the cool thing about it is the challenge for Johnny is not necessarily as much against the hitter as much as it is against Johnny himself. And I think that's a good place to be as a young player, because we could easily say, hey man, like, yeah, you can throw 80% fastballs and just bulldoze guys because your fastball's electric. But like, what's the big league version of yourself, and how do you get there? And we're starting that. We started that last year, his first full season, but we're starting more conversations about the best version of himself that exists in the major leagues. And you can bully guys at the lower levels with stuff and all that, but like, what process you need to have to be successful and sustainable at the higher levels and in the major leagues. And I think we've really stressed to Johnny about the process. And I think he's really taken to that, and he's challenged himself to be better that way. You had that competitive fire as a young player to just go out and put your foot on their throat and in their at bat or in the game, and he has that tenacity of how he goes after people. But in the bigger picture of everything, is he preparing himself to be the best version of himself in AA or AAA or in the big leagues? And I think that's the challenge we give to him consistently, of like, yeah, you can chase X number, you can chase Y number, you can throw this hard, you can strike out all these guys, but like, when you're doing it and you're not helping yourself be prepared for the major leagues, I think that's something that we look him in the mirror, or have him look himself in the mirror and kind of week by week in our side sessions and our game after game reviews, that we challenge him to make sure he's got the bigger picture while he's trying to dominate as he does. But obviously, special arm. Exciting to see his success over the last year or so. I mean, I won't forget it. I mean, he hadn't been in the organization 3 months, and he's asking where he's going next year. And I'm like, hey, buddy, like, let's worry about the things that'll help you. So, to his credit, like, we have a good relationship, him and I, and he does with all of our pitching guys and our staff members, support staff members, that like, we can hit him in the teeth with like, hey man, like, focus on the right things here. And he will do that. And it's shown up. Like, you can see the maturation just in the last 6 weeks in high A, of him kind of taking one step at a time and putting himself in a position to get better every single day, and in the process competing at an extremely high level. And he's been served by so many people that have helped him kind of navigate the day-to-day, that Johnny would probably be the first one to say he can't do it on his own. But at the same time, he's learning a lot of things that he can do on his own. And that's the goal, is to get guys to be their own best pitching coaches and understand what they need to be successful and how to make adjustments. And really 20 years old, dominating high A. Well, hopefully he continues to do that, puts himself in a position to kind of mature through the system and get to a spot where we feel comfortable in him going into 2027 at a high level.
He sounds very exciting, and hopefully we could see him in the majors one day. But there's two standout pitchers. That's his teammates dominating. Like, and we could talk about Nolan Perry and Daniel Guerrera, even though Johnny King's been incredible, but Nolan Perry just recently got promoted not too long ago, and he's continuing to dominate, like, strikeout after strikeout. Like, I think this is like his second or third game yesterday or the day before that, he had 10 strikeouts. And then Daniel Guerrera, like, he hasn't been talked about till this year, and he's also been a strikeout machine. And talk about those two, and those, like, it reminded me of last year, what your Savage and Gage Stanifer has done with the Jays organization. It seems like these two pitchers have become breakout pitchers so far this year. And talk about what they're about.
Yeah. Each time you say, like, all the guys you've said already or asked me about, bring a big smile to my face, just because you instantly reflect on, like, the journey of each individual guy.
Yeah.
Like I came in at 24 and Gara specifically was in the complex, and we were like, hey, who's this big body guy that has some upside, but like nobody really realizes what it can be yet. And there was some things that we needed to adjust. And speaking about him first, like, man, what an absolute worker. Like, I think I feel confident saying like you can give a poster boy of like minor league pitching development in Toronto Blue Jays of like every single step of the way he's been challenged by so many people and he's stepped up, and he's one of the hardest working people. He's changed his body, he's changed his delivery, he's changed the outlook on his career, he's changed his mental fortitude and his performance there, and he's changed his obviously on-field performance in the process. And I mean, it's really, it brings me joy just watching them compete. Like my favorite thing is to sit back and watch, because I know what they put in and I know the challenges we put in front of them and how they've tackled that individually. And Daniel is one of the hardest working people I've ever been around. He wants it so bad, and he wants to be great. And I think seeing his success this year, last year into this year. I mean, he finished the year on an unbelievable high note last year, and then that propelled him into a lot of confidence going into the offseason to be able to be the pitcher he wants to be. And obviously he's done some pretty special things early on in the year this year. So it's really exciting to see him prosper. And then you talk about Nolan Perry. Obviously I got here and he unfortunately had Tommy John in 2024, and that was a gut punch to him. And he's an unbelievable kid, raised really well by his parents, and has a good head on his shoulder. But he's a high school draft pick that kind of was figuring out who he was in professional baseball, and didn't really understand the bigger process of what being a professional athlete was, and then kind of had to take some lumps with performance at the beginning, and then obviously the injury that he had to get through. And just how he tackled the rehab process. It's a kudos to our rehab group on how to create an environment for him to kind of navigate and do the things he did to be able to be in the position that he was at spring training, to be full go and to be ready for 2026 and hit it head on. And then obviously I'm sure the people on Twitter and you guys in podcasts were like, how is he still in Dunedin? Because he was absolutely roasting that level. And you're right. It's the third time he's hit the double-digit plateau and strikeouts last night. And I think I'm more impressed of not just like the output of the results, but more of the process of how he's getting there and how he's doing it. I think is where we have a little bit of pride and a lot of fun to watch as pitching coaches and staff members of support that just see his process. Like he's grown up a lot in the last year over the injury, and he's done a lot of work, and our rehab group has created environments for him to learn himself well, and he's taken to it. And it's really exciting to see his output on the field and his performance and just the steady eddiness of his demeanor, and his ability to go get somebody and tack them and compete at a very, very high level. So those are two names that are really exciting to talk about and are really exciting for our organization, because they're creating value for themselves, and they're creating value to push up our organization to be potential major league options in the near future. So really cool for them to have the success they're having in Vancouver.
Braden Fisher and Mason Flaherty, they continue to have profound success in the major leagues. And they were big parts of last year's World Series run too. So, and is there any prospects that you see in the minor leagues that kind of emulate those guys, or that you think could be like the next success story that those guys have had?
Yeah, obviously heavily biased as a pitching coordinator in an organization of liking players. You have to like players to do this job. There's always somebody that's going to find something that they don't like about somebody. But at the end of the day, I think there are guys in our organization that are moving the needle for themselves from top to bottom, from our DR complex all the way up to AAA, that are going to get in conversations to be the next Braden Fisher or the next Mason Fluharty. And so for me, at the lower levels, we had a pretty interesting draft in 2025 where we got some uniqueness and some arms, and there's some guys that are down there in Dunedin that are showing some interesting performance and some attributes that could contribute to helping a major league team win with Mr. Watts and Brandon Barriere once he gets back from this injury. Brandon specifically has obviously had a harder road, but in his early career, but it's only made him more resilient and able to tackle certain challenges that come his way. But could see him once getting back healthy and getting back in there, being somebody that we talk about for years to come in this organization that helps our major league team win games. At the high level, obviously we talked about two of them. Pretty exciting starting pitchers there that could be forces going down the road. You got Danny Thompson Jr., who we haven't talked about as well, that his came on being a senior sign at a University of North Carolina, Greensboro, just jumping into the fire in high A right away and having a lot of success. You got Holden Wilkerson, who's put himself on the map, obviously. Short college career, and the fact that he didn't get a lot of innings due to different various circumstances that happened to him, and then started the year last year with a little oblique issue and then tried to find his way. But he's really stepped up his game in some of our process things that we care about that allow him to be successful, and he's got the stuff to do it. And so talking about him is always fun. And then you go into guys like the Javen Colemans of the world, who was in big league camp this year, who's coming back from a little hiccup and an injury, left-hander reliever that's just going to be potentially a version of Braden Fisher and Mason Fluharty. And then you got Yandere Rojas, who put himself on the map last year and got to Double-A and is in Double-A currently and had a nice one last night. These guys are guys that roll off the tongue because they put themselves in that position to be successful. It's really fun to see the maturation, like you mentioned at the beginning. I've been here since 2024, and I've seen so many people impact some of these guys. And you guys have followed baseball long enough to know that every player has a different timeline, and right. we might think one thing, but the players really decide when they're ready to take that next step. And I think it's really cool to see different versions of starters to relievers that might be in the conversation to be the next guy to get called up or the next guy to help us win a pennant or win a World Series. And I think that's the cool thing about our job for Justin, myself, and our pitching coaches and our department is we're trying to help them create value for themselves so they get in those conversations. I've always said it since I've done this job that players make decisions for us most of the time. And they do it by their performance. They do it by their ability to handle adversity and handle the process of growth and development. And I think the guys that I mentioned, just a handful of them, have put themselves in situations to be considered as the next version of Braden Fisher and Mason Fluharty. So it's really cool to see those guys prosper in the major leagues. Obviously, Mason's been in the organization for a few years, and we got Braden through a trade with the Dodgers. And he really kind of took to what we were doing and kind of took it to the next level for himself, and really excited for them and really happy for their success and continued success for our team. Because I don't know where we'd be without Mason Fluharty throwing every game, because he's in there.
I know, right?
Definitely.
He's had a lot of success. And then Braden down the stretch last year and early on this year, he's been a key cog in our bullpen. So really excited for those guys.
Just love the fact that stealing deals with the Dodgers is one of the best things you never think of. You can't complain about that. But
I always like winning deals, that's for sure. But
always. And since you mentioned so many names in this organization, it seems like it's so deep when it comes to pitching. And we haven't talked, like you mentioned about Holden Wilkinson. Carson Macedo was actually dominant the other day. And talk a bit about Mekhi Bucknam, because I know that he pitched in college last year and he was drafted, but unfortunately he was injured. And two guys that were international with Sun Jin Moon and Miguel Pantoja. Nobody talks about those guys. Talk a bit about them, what they're about, and what their direction holds with those guys.
Yeah, that's. I'm glad you brought all those guys up, because I always, when I get asked that question about who's coming or who's the best of what we got, I always leave somebody out, and I obviously don't.
Right.
But you talk about Carson Messina, you talk about Soju Moon, you talk about Miguel Pantoja, like impressive. Impressive. Like Carson's this is entering into his second full season, coming out of high school, being kind of a little bit of a raw, really strong force of a pitcher. He's learned some really good routines over the last year and a half that have put him into a situation where he can post and he can be able to pitch. And yeah, when you got a guy touching 98 multiple times a game and just shoving it down guys' throats, like, yeah, that's what you want. That's what you want to see. And so he's doing a really good job putting himself in a position to kind of keep going down the line in the organization, and really excited for his maturity of learning himself as a professional pitcher. You got Sojun, who's I coached in Korea, like I mentioned at the beginning. Like, it got me really excited when we got a Korean international player in the org, first one ever, I believe. Besides, obviously, a minor league side, besides Hyunjin Ryu, obviously, in the past year at the major league level, but just really special talent. He came polished more than you'd expect from an international player that hasn't been aware of the professional side of things in the States as much. Really excited for his future. He's getting back on there. We're slowly building him, because obviously the workload compared to his Korean high school is a little bit different in professional baseball in the States. So we're just being smart by putting him in a position to succeed and build off of Miguel Pantoja. Awesome kid. Brought him over from the DR early this spring, and has kind of taken off and running with our coaching staff, and putting himself in a position to get considered to go to low A, just like the other two guys are, pretty consistently with his performance. Another guy to mention is Angel Rivero, who's also a pitcher in the FCL, who's a young Venezuelan pitcher that has kind of taken his stride as he's came over to the States, and really excited to see him kind of prosper into the pitcher he could possibly be. Has huge pitchability and the ability to kind of get guys out multiple ways. So that's pretty fun to watch. And then he mentioned Micah Bucknam, awesome kid, unfortunate injury, obviously, that he's not going to be able to pitch in 2026. But kind of the mentality and the demeanor that you want in a professional. He cares about all the little things the right way. He wants to be challenged. He wants to grow. He wants to be the best of the best. He's a special kid, and we're excited to kind of get him through this rehab scenario and put him in a position to be successful once we start regular spring training in 2027. But yeah, really exciting young talent that we have. You mentioned that you feel that we have a lot of depth. We're excited to hear that. We're excited to like the players have earned that, and the coaches and the support staff that have worked with them have helped them kind of guide through that and put themselves in a position to be successful again. So it's really cool to hear people so excited about our depth, because obviously we're trying to build a monster over here and have a lot of success and get our homegrown talent to Toronto so they can help us win a World Series or create value for themselves to help bring other people into the organization to obviously help us win a World Series, because that's the goal. We want to bring championships back to Canada, and to do that, you got to have pitching. And so we're excited to kind of build and continue to build.
The Jays pitchers have had as many as 14 to 15 Tommy John surgeries, if not more, in the organization in the past, like dating back to last season and beyond. And there's some guys that are working through their and coming back, like Jake Bloss and Nolan Perry, Landon Barudis, Chad Dallas, Carson Pierce, Brandon Barriera, who just recently got injured again, unfortunately. But how is it working? How has it been managing those injuries and with some of these guys working their way back through their development?
Yeah. You see, you bring up other names that I didn't mention earlier that I probably should. I mean, Chad Dallas, Landon Morotis, like, you're talking guys that are doing a really good job of putting themselves in a position to kind of grow and get to where they need to get to. But you might be able to see gray hair in my hair now. This is the life of a pitching coordinator. You're dealing with injuries all the time. we obviously have a process that's pretty robust, and we want to mitigate any type of injury possibility. But it's the world we live in, a little bit, and unfortunately, we can control only so much. Obviously, in season from a workload standpoint, and progressing guys into proper routines, obviously we can control that. But we don't have them all year round, and we don't have our fingerprints on them all year round. They go home, they do other things. They come into the organization with things. I would say from a historic standpoint, I've been doing this for a while now, and I've never seen so many weird medicals when they show up as a professional athlete. Where weird meaning they already have some sort of hickey on their injury history, where they had some sort of hiccup from a surgical standpoint or something else. And so that's very concerning. But at the same time, we're very intentional with our processes to help mitigate any injuries. But at the end of the day, we live in a world that is, like we mentioned at the front end, we're chasing velocity, but we're trying to do it safely. And so there's certain instances that it might not be done on a safe manner. And we're trying to get some education to our players and our coaches to make sure they're aware of kind of our process to put guys in a position to be able to post every 5th or 6th day, or post when the manager calls their number out of the bullpen. And that's a never ending change thing, where we have to look ourselves in the mirror every single year and prioritize player health, because our greatest asset as an organization is our players performing on the field. And we don't, if we're not locked in step with our training, with our medical, with our S&C, with our nutritionist, with our mental performance, and on the baseball side, if we're not locked in step in all of that, then something can go awry, and we can put a player in position to be hurt, and we don't ever want to do that. And so, yeah, I joke about the gray hairs that I'm getting over the years from this, but honest to God, this is part of the job, and it's part of the responsibility, as myself and others have as curators of their careers. We understand that we need to put them in positions to be the best version of themselves, and we're very diligent in our processes to peel back every single layer to help guys understand what gets them to be successful and keeps them healthy and all of those things. And it takes a village on that as well. But it's something that our industry needs to really continue to reflect on, to make sure that we are preparing these players for the tasks that are ahead of them. I mean, we talked about a Braden Fisher and a Mason Fuhardy, and they pitch a lot. We're called on to be in the major leagues. And you have Trey Savage, who comes out of college, and he gets thrown through the organization and into the big leagues and into the World Series in his first professional season. And so there is obviously a calculated risk with all of that, but we have to put a plan together and a process together for each individual guy to make sure that we have their health in the forefront of our minds every time we make decisions. And I think it's inevitable that we're going to have something, unfortunately, which I hate saying that exactly like that, because I wish it wasn't as black and white sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's one of my number one, if not the number one thing I think about every single day when I talk to our pitching coaches and our players about player health. And it's I just got off a call earlier this morning talking about player health that literally happens every day. And so it hurts my heart every time it happens. But we try to put our best foot forward to put our players in positions to stay healthy as best as possible. This year has been a little bit of freak injuries, not necessarily TJs or anything of that nature. There's been a couple, but some freak injuries that we're trying to peel back the layers to understand and investigate more to see how we can do it better going forward. And that's just a never-ending cycle that we, as pitching coordinators, pitching coaches, pitching directors, that we always look under those lenses to make sure we're putting our best foot forward.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I haven't seen this many injuries in this organization, because they're very precarious. Like, they're very precautious about injuries, and it's unfortunate that we haven't seen this many. And hopefully we get to, reinforcements back throughout the year. Like, hopefully
it's definitely crazy from the major leagues all the way down to our It's like we look up and it's like, how did that one happen? Like,
it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, and it's like, and the thing, it's like, I still think like with this team, it's like with all these injuries, they could still bounce back like the way the AL is going, right? Like it's
No question. I have full confidence once we get continually each person, everybody's on a different timeline. But once we get continual reinforcements to our major league team, that coming from our minor league group as well as coming from guys that are hurt on the major league group, I feel confident that we'll right the ship and we'll be a really competitive team and be in that conversation hopefully towards the end.
Absolutely. I want to talk about a specific pitcher here who gets, I don't know about overshadowed because he was the breakout pitcher in the system last year, was Gage Stanifer. And, you know, his delivery, and I've watched his games, his delivery reminds me a little bit of Dylan Cease. I don't know if you see it that way, but with him, he had a vision problem and he had to wear goggles, and it seems like everything worked out for him. He was also part of that 2022 draft class, like with Mason Flaherty, Nolan Perry, etc. Like, and he kind of struggled a bit to start the year, but he seems to have figured it out. And every prospect goes through struggles before they start succeeding. Like where does he stand at this point? And when it comes to his work, like what does he need to do in order to take that next step?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, Gage has put himself on the map at a very high level. Obviously, Major League Camp this year, kind of flipped the script of his career last year and put him in a situation to be considered as one of the top prospects in our organization. It's rightfully earned. He's put a lot of work in on his body. He's an absolute unit of a human being. Like his physical capacity as an athlete is impressive. His ability to pay attention to the finer things and being a professional athlete is impressive. And then transitioning to the field, obviously we strategically put him with Trey last year to kind of learn a little bit about what we felt Trey was really good at that complemented what Gage needed to kind of learn. And I think they did a really good job of learning from each other and that's propelled both of them. Obviously, Trey pitching last night and doing a really good job versus the Yankees, and then obviously last year. But Gage consistently pushing the needle. He knows what it looks like because he worked with one all year last year. And so really cool to see his maturation. Yeah, players go through little peaks and valleys at times during even Trey last year. If you guys remember, like every time we sent him to a new affiliate, it's probably my fault, but every time we sent him to a new affiliate, he didn't necessarily throw great his first time out there. And then he ironed it out a couple starts and he was dominant again. So I think every athlete, every pitcher goes through a different change every year of kind of getting back to being consistent. And I think Gage just kind of felt like he was navigating some different things in his routine and he kind of streamlined those in his first full go in AA. He obviously touched AA last year, but just getting familiar with the environment. It's the first year ever he started a season freezing his tail off in the weather in New Hampshire, in the Eastern League, obviously starting in Florida for entire career going on to the years prior. So I think he was just navigating certain things that he needed to navigate, things that potentially worked for him in the past that he kind of graduated from that weren't serving him well in his routine. And then things that he would honestly tell you that he probably took a step back on in his routine that he needed to step forward with and be more consistent on. And so I don't think we ever were worried necessarily about Gage on like his performance necessarily in a vacuum, but there was things that he needed to work on that obviously we were aware of and pushing him on, but also giving him the tools and the solutions to solve some of the problems that he was having. And so, yeah, he's a special individual. Really like him. Yeah, he had the vision test last year and then had to get contacts or glasses to wear during the games. And he obviously wore glasses last year and was really successful. He tried contacts at the beginning of the year this year and in spring training and didn't necessarily jive with that, got back to some glasses. He's kind of going back and forth trying to figure out which obviously both of you and myself we're wearing. Yeah. It's a navigation process for each individual to figure out what's best for them, especially when you need to have a focus level that you need to have as a pitcher and commanding the baseball and things of that nature. So yeah, I think the sky's the limit for Gage. He's got opportunity. I was talking to somebody else the other day, like that's what starting pitchers look like. That's what guys that are going to be successful in the major leagues in a rotation look like. We just have to fine tune some things that polish him up a bit. And I think he's still young and still obviously impressionable to learn those things and put them into practice. But overall, I think he's got a really good support system around him and coaches and staff that can help him kind of navigate the problem solving process that he needs to do. But unless we are told from a different person in the organization that we need to transition him to the bullpen because they need him tomorrow in Toronto, he's going to be grinding as a starting pitcher and trying to be the best version of himself in that area. But really good player, really good person, great family, and obviously root for him and his success as well.
At the end of April, there was a no-hitter thrown in New Hampshire, and I mean, anytime you can go through a game without giving up a hit is something special. And it was a combined no-hitter, a 6-0 victory. Jackson Wentworth started that game, and we had him. He was a friend of our show, by the way.
Awesome.
He was on not too long ago. So yeah, it's cool to see he started that game, and then you had Nate Garko, Irv Carter, and Kai Peterson closing it out. So, talk a little bit about how that game went and what it meant for those guys, and those guys specifically to be put in that scenario to be part of something special like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the thought of a no-hitter as a pitcher in our game is special. I had a couple of them when I was an amateur, and I think I still think about those today. Like it's a special situation to be a part of a no-hitter. I was actually in New Hampshire for the no-hitter in the dugout with our group.
That's awesome.
So I got to partake in that process, which was really, really neat. But if I'm being honest, and they would corroborate my statement here, is I wasn't as happy as everybody else. And probably the reason behind that is because we walked 10 guys in that game. And I'm a big process-oriented person, especially when you're projecting on success going into the upper levels in the major leagues. And so I was I was smiling, I was giving hugs, I was giving high fives just like everybody else, because you win the game and you get a no-hitter and people are excited. But everybody to a man in that dugout and in that clubhouse knew that what I was going to say the next day or what I was going to say 15 minutes later, which is we walked too many freaking guys. So we joked about it the next day in the after game report that like I'm proud of them for obviously going after something pretty cool, but like the process wasn't the greatest. And they know that, but I was as happy as a clam for them as anybody else. But as the pitching coordinator with like a vision of like bigger things, right? Like, you just go back to process stuff. So yeah, again, exciting. I hope we do it tomorrow. I hope we do it the next day. If we walk 10 guys, whatever, but like, it's cool from a baseball standpoint, a performance standpoint to say you were a part of a no-hitter, especially at the professional level. So really excited for those guys, and they were fired up, and I 100% agree with being fired up for it and was fired up with them. But I got bigger visions, and that's probably painful going forward. So we gotta work on that. But yeah, it's really cool. No hitters are sweet. Let's throw more of those. That's for sure.
We'll see more of those in the future.
Yeah.
Since we talk so many pitching prospects in the system, every level has its own talent in the Jays organization with affiliates. Mm-hmm. What would you say, in your opinion, has the deepest talent in pitching? Because I go back and forth. Like even AA has pitching, like Vancouver, like even AAA at times. There's guys who've been called up back and forth. Like, where in your mind you think has the deepest pitching talent in the system?
Man, that's a really good question, and it's something that I would like to say I plead the fifth, but I know why I'm on a podcast. I think there's some exciting things at every single level. To your point, like there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys potentially at every level that have some value to give. And like baseball people look at me and be like, yeah, okay, Ricky, there's 7, 8 guys at every single staff. You only have 15 guys on every staff. You're saying half your staff at every level is a big leaguer. I'm the pitching coordinator. I'm supposed to be bullish and get excited about certain things that other people aren't. But in reality, there's talent at every single level that has a chance to be major league players and help us win a World Series. But if you had to point me in a corner and tell me that, oh man, I'm gonna get crap for this from somebody. But
I put you on your tracks. There's no wrong answer to this, right? Like, I mean,
I think Vancouver,
incredible.
Yeah, Vancouver has some special arms down there, or up there, excuse me. I think it's probably between them and Double A, for where we're at. I mean, we've got some good arms, we've got some good talent, from a value standpoint in the org. Like, guys are putting themselves on the map, and it's pretty cool. So thank you for telling me there's no wrong answer, because honestly, I feel good about a handful of guys on every level, to be the next version of the guys we talked about before. And it's just an exciting time. And then kudos to our support staff, our pitching coaches, for the work they do with these players, because honestly, like, it takes, I've said it many times in other interviews. I probably said it multiple times today, but it takes a village to, like, help these players. It's not one person. It's not the director of pitching. It's not the pitching coordinator that is the end all be all to all of these decisions or to the success. It's to the boots on the ground. It's to the people that impact the players at a high level. And I think that's what I could talk about with you guys for another hour, is just the fact that from front office to coordinator level to director level, and then down to the pitching coaches, everybody wants the same things. They want the things that help players get better, and they're willing to do the work to do that. And it's just a kudos to leadership from Mark Shapiro all the way down to our consistency and our message, to our communication, our leadership from David Bell and Joe Scalfani, to Justin, myself, and to our pitching coaches. It's just really cool. I've been a part of 3 organizations, like I mentioned, at the front end on the major league side. And this organization truly cares about the people that work at the Toronto Blue Jays, and they give us opportunities to serve our players, and then our players are open and they're trusting in the fact that our people are here for the right reasons to help them do it. So kudos to our staff and our pitching coaches and our group that support these players, because I can't talk about these players like we're talking about them without the impact that they make at a high level every single day. So we'll be remiss if I didn't mention that significant impact on our people.
Who are some pitchers in the minors that you would say are close to being ready to maybe knock on the door or, of the major leagues, or even to be promoted to, Buffalo, the final step before the major leagues?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think from AA, AAA, like I mentioned, you got Yandy Rojas, who's a reliever that's had some success. When Javen Coleman gets back and proves that, he had a really good big league camp and a good start to the year. We just need to get him, kind of a knick-knack injury there, trying to get him back, which he'll be back here very shortly. Obviously, on the starting staff of things, you got Gage, you got Richard Gallardo. He had a rough one yesterday, but he's been pretty consistent throughout his time in AA. And then from AAA to the big leagues, CJ Van Eyck, Chad Dallas, Hayden Yanger, you got guys all over the map. Like, I think if you Tanner Andrews, you got guys that are going through our system that whatever the team needs in Toronto, we feel confident we're going to give them a person and a body that is going to supply the need that they have. And I think that's, from a pitching coordinator standpoint, that's something that you want to build. You want to build options, and you want to build the ability to answer the bell and not have to go outside an organization to get what you already have in your organization. And I think we're well on our way to helping solve some of those problems that come up throughout a year, because you guys know depth is always challenged every single year. And so if you're building that internally, you're only that much better. You don't want to have to DFA claim guys all year long to try to match up you hopefully will have a handful of guys every year from your organization that are those answers to those questions. And I think with those names that I mentioned, we're on the way. And some of them already had. Obviously, you see the guys that come up this year. and made some debuts or have come into the organization and then obviously given us, we got Chase Lee up there now, Adam Macko up there, various other guys who've gone up there and come back. We've got guys that went up there, came back, and they're still in our organization with Josh Fleming and Austin Voth that have helped kind of stabilize a week or two up in the major leagues. But it takes everybody, and it's really exciting to talk about the names that are right there on the doorstep, because there's been I can't wait to talk about those success stories too when they make their major league debuts, because the multiple guys that I just mentioned have stories that are awesome.
Yeah.
There's so many things to share on that, but if they keep grinding and keep doing what they've been doing, they'll put themselves in those positions to be successful, and we're excited for their growth and the ability to be able to help them do that.
This next question is very intriguing for me, and this has to do with pitching overall. And we talk about left-handed pitching, right? Like,
yeah.
you got about 6 or 7 left-handed pitchers, and predominantly in this system, it's mainly right-handed pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And some people ask themselves, it's like, okay, you look at the Jays rotation right now, it's pretty much right-handed. You got about 2 or 3 relievers that are left-handed, right? But
right.
If you look at the organization as a whole, right, do they emphasize a little bit of both? Because, every team is looking for left-handed pitching, but there's not enough of that in today's sport, right? You would say it's more right-handed in baseball. But how do you look at it as an organization? Because I look at the Jays, I think top left-handed pitchers, there's about 6 or 7 guys that are really good. But could you see more of that in the future? Let's just say when it comes to like drafting left-handed pitchers, or it's like you just draft the best pitcher available.
Yeah, you're asking a highly biased left-handed person right here. So
yeah, I know.
I have to start with that. Like, if I could call Ross or call Tram, our amateur scouting director, and say get a bunch of lefties, I would do that, because I'm left-handed and I'm extremely biased. But I think what you just said is kind of industry-wide, right? You're trying to influx your organization with the best available players, and sometimes it works out that way, that you have a little lull in left-handed arms, or a certain position arm, or certain position player, or whatever the case may be there. But I think we're trying to find the best players and get them in the organization and get them better. If like we traded away a left-hander that has had success in Minnesota so far, Kendry Rojas, obviously a former outfield that converted a pitcher, that kind of took the last year was a big year for him and kind of catapulted him into being the guy he is now. And I think, I mean, if I'm honest, I want more lefties, but I want the right lefties, right? Like, we want guys that obviously have the stuff to compete at the highest level, but have the aptitude and understanding of how to get both-sided hitters out, how to attack the strike zone at a high level where they're in count leverage, that their ability to put guys away or get weak contacts is immense. Like, in a vacuum, I don't necessarily care if they're right or left, but I am biased. I think we need to have more. And not just the ones that might have been myself 20 years ago, of the crafty ones, right? Like, not just the guys that have a unique angle or spin the ball or have a unique arsenal deployment. Like, we would like to get surefire starting pitching left-handers, like, for sure. Like, I don't think anybody would tell you that we're not trying to get that. But at the end of the day, I think you're right. I think we're trying to get the best player. And I think Ross and the group upstairs does a really good job of obviously building our major league group. And then from pro scouting to amateur scouting and all in between, I think we have those conversations, and we are actively trying to get better as an organization in certain areas. So it's not like we're avoiding the left-handed nature. I just think we're trying to get the best players we possibly can be, and put them around the team that we have in the major league side, and try to fill in some gaps where there needs to be filled. But I mean, you're asking a lefty, I'm highly biased. Let's get more lefties.
No, the reason I say that is, even though like just the left-handed pitchers, like, we're even excited. Like, even Ricky Tiedemann, like we've talked about Ricky Tiedemann for years, and hopefully he comes back. Like the left-handed pitching, I feel like, is a need, especially now in baseball, if you look at it this way. Because if you look at the matchups, you look at the peripherals, you look at the metrics of where baseball's at, like, we're looking at, best pitcher available, because we don't see right-handed pitchers who have both splits are really good. That's a rarity now in baseball, which is tough, right? That's why I ask yourself, like with left-handed pitching, it's like you got the Johnny Kings as well. You got the Javon Colemans. Like, is that a great factor for the Blue Jays right now, as you know, as they continue to draft in the future?
Yeah, I think, yeah, you ask any of us, I think that's a real thing for sure. I mean, yeah, you talk about Ricky Tiedemann. I was just on a call earlier today talking about Ricky Tiedemann. I mean, stud. Like, we want him to be healthy and come back and be able to be the version of Ricky that we all see. And he's well on his way to do that. I think we're excited about progress that he's had, and he's obviously one I didn't mention in any of these conversations, but like, you can put him closer to the top. I mean, we still value him at a very, very high level, and really excited for him to kind of get back to it and get in there. But yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I think, yes, we can talk about platoons and right-handed versus left-handed and all that stuff, but there are guys out there that can get both-sided hitters out, and we just need to go find the next Chris Sale, or we need to go find the next Jesus Luzardo, like the guys that can get guys out at a high level. And I obviously Kershaw fan, and he obviously retiring puts a big hole in our game, but like, we need the next Kershaw, and hopefully he can be a Toronto Blue Jay and pitch on in the Rogers Center and bring a World Series championship to us. But yeah, I think that's something we're missing, and I think we'll eventually get there as we get the prospects into our organization and build them.
I want to end the episode with this question. And you're our age, so we grew up through this era, the area you pitched in. But talk about yourself as a pitcher and how standards have changed and how pitching's changed and evolved since you did it to today's, comparing it to today's standards.
Yeah, man, it's changed a lot. I would consider, like, if I pitched in this day and age, like, I'd be considered a throwback. And I think it might have a little bit more success than it did in the past, just because it's a different look. But yeah, man, I was a younger guy that looked after the Mark Burleys of the world and the Barry Zitos of the world. It's funny, Justin's our director, and he was roommates with Barry in college and stuff. And so, like, hey man, that's who I tried to model my game after. Cliff Lee. Yeah, I think that the game has changed just because of what we started with. Like, velocity is king. Like, I didn't throw very hard, and definitely not anywhere close as hard as the guys that are throwing nowadays. Honestly, at 40 years old, I throw harder now than I did when I played, because I played so much catch with the guys. Like, everybody always asks me, hey, can you still do it, kind of deal. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, the game's changed. I think part of the tough generation of the world that we live in is different than it was. Like, I was never taught to throw hard. My job was to throw the ball to a spot and not miss. Like, I make jokes about, like, the tin, throwing it in a tin can. Like, that's what we practice. We didn't practice, like, gearing up to make sure your body's sequencing properly to throw the hardest bolt that you had. Like, yeah, did I reach back sometimes to throw my hardest bolt? Yeah, but I didn't train that way. I trained to be efficient. I trained to be command centric, like, get the ball in the box, use my quadrants, be able to throw. I had to throw the kitchen sink because I didn't throw very hard, and that's fine. But I learned different pitches, different feels, different understandings of how to sequence pitches off each other, how to tunnel pitches off each other. That's like throwback now. Well, now it's starting to come back, because you can't just be a carnival thrower and throw in the major leagues. You got to have some feel to understand how your big stuff can be paired off each other. Pitch pairing is a huge piece of what we do, how we contrast pitches off each other, how we improve. Once you improve a location of a pitch, you potentially improve the outcome and the stuff of that pitch. And so, yeah, it's a little bit different. But if I'm being honest, like, there is a little bit of foundational old school in me, where it's like, that's what we're teaching a little bit here in the minor leagues, while we're also emphasizing and utilizing the tools to build the most robust, powerful arsenals that we can with our guys. So, yeah, I don't think I'd exist in this day and age of pitching because they just don't value it anymore. I'd have to be perfect because the upper 80s, mid 80s, upper 80s lefty, like, they don't exist in the game. Yeah, and like, it's crazy to think that the average fastball when I played as a left-hander was like 86, 87 miles an hour in the major leagues. And now it's like 92. And like, obviously the right hand is like 94, 95. And so it's crazy to talk about that, but that's just the evolution of the game and how technology and how training mechanisms and how athletes have trained differently. And obviously you can get into the debate of how we measure things differently nowadays as well. So it's different, but yeah, I'd like to say I'd have success and I'd go, but like, I think I'd probably have a 15 ERA and they'd hit it. I realized really quickly when I was playing that there was guys that had different attributes than I did. And I think, let me exit stage right here before it gets real bad.
Ricky, man, this was awesome, man. And, we appreciate everything what you said. And we learned a lot too, even though we love baseball, we follow the system, and I love where this direction of this organization holds. And thanks for being on once again. What's your upcoming projects or like scheduling? Like, do you have to go scouting? Do you have to go travel with the team, or do you have to go prepare for the draft? On like, what's next for you?
Yeah. First and foremost, appreciate you guys having me. I appreciate Joe giving you guys my contact. And anytime I can shed a light on our people and our players, it's always fun to do that. So I appreciate you having me. But yeah, next trip, actually today I'm home currently because my daughter graduates pre-K, and so I got to be home for that. Very grateful to allow that. And then my son has his last day of second grade today, so I'm going to go pick him up here shortly. So that's what I'm doing in the near term. But next week I head to Vancouver and I'll be with that group for the week, and then I'll head down to Dunedin and be with our low A group. I like to kind of double team it because our complex is right there. So I'll be with rehab, with FCL and Dunedin all in one that week as well. So travel coming up, it's part of the gig. It's something I really enjoy, obviously seeing all of our affiliates and being able to impact our coaches and stuff. But yeah, get to go to the western side of the country, which I absolutely love. Vancouver is an awesome place to watch a game. If Jays fans haven't been over to Vancouver to watch our high A group, you need to. I've been doing this for a long time and seen a lot of minor league places and affiliate years and all that. And I'll put this in my top 5 for sure. It's an unbelievable atmosphere to be at, and that's including the major leagues. So I'll say it's something to go to. So yeah, really excited for that trip. And again, thank you for having me and getting to talk about our players.
Yeah, you're going to probably see Rocky. He's going there in a week. So I'm unfortunately not able to make it on this trip, but he's going there on behalf of our show, and is going to get to see all the guys down in Vancouver. And we're going to New Hampshire sometime in the summer, so I'll get to go to that one. But
awesome.
But yeah, thanks for joining us, man. We learned so much about the system just talking to you, and so much about pitching in general. And you can always learn more. So
no doubt.
we appreciate it, man.
You got it. Again, appreciate you having me. And Rocky, if you're in Vancouver, come down and say hello. I'll be looking up there for you, see if you're around. So
yeah, absolutely. But I think Joe is going to be there as well. Yeah, it's awesome that, going to Vancouver, this is going to be my first experience doing media work and, learning things as it goes. And I just love talking about pitching prospects and prospects in general, because this is where baseball's at. And this is where the future holds. And like you said, like when you build within the system, you continue to be contending on a yearly basis with continuity. And I think that's what's important in baseball. And that's what's important, like building within the system and continuing growing success.
100%. Yeah, I agree. It's always working in the minor leagues is hard, and it's definitely has its challenges in different ways, but the impact you can make to help guys realize dreams and challenge themselves to be better, not just to be a major league player, but as a man and as an athlete and as a human, it's a lot of fun. So you always learn new things every year. And again, I appreciate you guys, and I learned a lot from you as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Till next time, Take care. Be kind to each other from the Blue Jays Avenue podcast on Thursday, May 21st, 2026.